Now, he is one of Australia's most successful and busy singer-songwriters and music producers. Paul Dempsey is the frontman for band Something for Kate, which will be touring later this year.
For now, he's on the road performing work from his latest solo album, Strange Loop. I caught up with him to talk about writer's block, finding inspiration and singing for your supper to make a living.
I got myself good and lost for words. I got a suitcase full of happily ever afters. The late orange light, a beginner's guide to when a perfect stranger didn't seem so hard to find.
Well, Paul Dempsey, thanks for joining us on Weekend Breakfast. You're at the beginning of a new tour. How's it going so far?
Great, yeah, we're 3 shows in, and each one has been better than the last, so yeah, the only way is up.
It was a long time between solo albums, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I kind of juggle my solo thing with Something for Kate, so there was a Something for Kate album in between the solo records, and yeah, I just try and sort of keep myself busy with, you know, whatever musical endeavours are around. I produce records for other people as well, so it's been, I guess, yeah, like 6 years between records, but just, yeah, really hectic.
It wasn't a case of writer's block, 'cause I think you've talked about that in the past.
Yeah, yeah. Look, writing is it's a bit of a slog for me. I used to characterise it as writer's block, but now I just decided that writer's block is a myth and that it's really just hard work, and you know, if you're not making progress, you just have to put more hours in. So I get there eventually, after 6 years. But yeah, I get there eventually.
So how do you find the inspiration if you do feel a bit blocked up? And what was the inspiration for this album?
Well, as I say, it's, you know, I guess writer's block and inspiration, you know, they're sort of these ideas that I don't necessarily subscribe to anymore. I don't sit around waiting for inspiration. I don't go, oh, I'm uninspired, therefore I can, you know, give up for today and go and get a donut. It's more like it's the old cliche, isn't it? You know, you actually just have to keep working harder, and then you break through and you go, right, now I feel like I'm onto something. So it really is just a matter of like keeping my head down.
I read somewhere, and tell me if this is just a myth or true or not, but somebody did work so hard at session muso on your album that they actually, they were bleeding by the end of it. Tell me about that.
That's right. Yeah, well, yeah, I recorded my latest album in Chicago, and was lucky enough to be joined by some wonderful musicians over there, one of whom was Paul von Mertens, who he plays with Brian Wilson and Aretha Franklin. And I had written this part for bass saxophone, not being a bass saxophonist myself, but I thought theoretically he should be able to play this part. And when he turned up at the studio, he was like, this is one of the most challenging parts anyone's ever written, purely because of my ignorance of bass saxophone. But he was like, I really want to give it a shot. And so he did, and he had about, you know, he did about 5 takes, and by the end his lips were bleeding just from, yeah, the sort of, it was a very kind of fast staccato part, and this is a huge horn that he has to push air through, so I hadn't taken that into account.
Is that the last time he'll be working with you?
No, he was, yeah, we hit it off. Actually, yeah, caught up with him when he was here with Brian Wilson recently.
So we sit and stare into the glowing heads of the geniuses floating past us everywhere. Yeah, they hide their dreams inside of a jewelry box, and every time I try to lift the lid, the music stops. So just sleep right through every wake-up call, 'cause soon we'll straighten up and fly right into that coma wall. And I see you when you disappear down every street. And I hear you when you turn and talk in your sleep.
you have a favourite part of the process? Is it the writing? Is it being in studio, producing and creating? Is it performing on stage?
It's probably performing. You know, that's where I guess the immediate gratification and excitement is. You know, you're actually playing your instrument with friends, and there's a audience. So it's got all that all that energy of the moment. So I do love that. As I say, the writing I really enjoy, but it's a longer, sustained effort of concentration, and so the reward doesn't come till it's sort of finished. But you know, it's all part of the thing. You know, you have to put the effort in all areas.
I guess it's fair to say that you're a veteran in the Australian music business.
I know. Listen to me. I sound so like. I'm so realistic, and
You've seen it all. There's been so much change in the music business so quickly, and I'm wondering, for you, how is it different now compared to perhaps the heydays of the 90s, and how hard is it to make money now when less and less people are buying music and they're streaming it? Can you make money on 1/10 of a cent every time a song is streamed? I mean, what's it like now?
Yeah, look, I think everyone is moving towards the streaming model, and that's great. It's as you say, the sort of royalties are the tenths of a tenth, like a thousandth of a cent. So it remains to be seen whether that's a viable business model for anybody, for record companies or musicians or whatever, but it is growing at a pretty good rate, and it's better than piracy. So, I think it just remains to be seen. But, as I just said, my favourite thing about music has always been playing live, and I love going out on tour and playing live. So, you can't download that, I guess. So, I just keep doing that, and, you're singing for my supper, I guess.